Hey there. Before we dive into this incredible story, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now, get ready because Amanda's story is about to begin. My name is Amanda. I'm a software engineer, and for as long as I can remember, my life has been defined by my parents' blatant favoritism toward my younger sister, Sierra. While Sierra was the star of the family, destined for a glamorous marketing career, I was the responsible one, the practical daughter. It was a role I didn't ask for but one I was forced to play. This dynamic finally reached its breaking point at a family dinner celebrating Sierra's latest promotion. The dining room of my parents' mahogany-filled house was buzzing, but to me, it felt suffocating. The entire evening was a parade of praise for Sierra. The final straw came when my mother, wearing the pearl necklace I had bought her for Christmas, the one she claimed was nice but not my style, casually commented, "Amanda, you'll never be as good as your sister." My father simply cleared his throat in agreement. In that moment, 2 years of swallowed words and resentment rose in my throat. I stood, my hands trembling as I pulled a crumpled mortgage statement from my purse. "I've been paying your bills for 2 years," I said, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and hurt. "Including this house." My mother's eyes widened, but she quickly composed herself, waving her hand dismissively. "That's what family does," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Sierra needs to focus on her career." I then pulled out a stack of neatly organized receipts, bank statements, transfer confirmations, canceled checks. "I've supported plenty," I said, "but I'm not your ATM." My father's face reddened, but he said nothing. Sierra looked between us, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. "What's happening?" she asked, but no one answered her. In that moment, I realized I was risking everything. My only family connections, the people who raised me, the sister I had once helped with homework and driven to dance recitals. But as I looked at their faces, I saw for the first time that my worth was measured not in love or shared memories, but in the dollars I could provide. "I'll be taking a break from family dinners," I said, my voice steadier now. "And family payments." My mother's face hardened. "You'll regret this," she said. "Family is all we have in this world." I paused at the doorway, feeling a strange lightness. Then I guess I have nothing. A whole week passed without a single word from my parents. The only communication I had was with Sierra, who sent a few hesitant messages. Then, on a Thursday, my mother called, asking me to help her with her tax paperwork. "Since you're so good with numbers," she added, a backhanded compliment that acknowledged my skill while still managing to be a slight. I never intended to find it, but as I sorted through the chaotic stack of documents on her desk, I saw a familiar name on a student loan statement. Name. The words blurred, then sharpened with horrifying clarity. It was a payment for Sierra's student loans, bearing my account number for over $19,400. My hands trembled as I flipped through more pages. My blood ran cold as I discovered statements for Sierra's car payments and credit card bills. These weren't emergency payments. They were systematic, planned, expected. I turned to see my mother in the doorway, the same pearl necklace I had given her gleaming against her crisp blouse. "Did you find the mortgage interest forms?" she asked, a flicker of annoyance on her face as she noticed the papers in my hands. My father and Sierra appeared behind her. "What is this?" asked, my voice distant. My mother dismissed the papers with a wave of her hand. "You were helping the family," she said, without a hint of guilt. My father chimed in. "Transportation is essential for her position." My mother added, "Professional appearance matters in marketing." I looked at Sierra, who finally pocketed her phone. "I didn't ask for any of this," she said with a shrug. "Mom said you were happy to help." The room suddenly felt too small. For 2 years, I thought I was helping with a temporary hardship, but I had been funding Sierra's lavish lifestyle. "Do you have any idea what this is doing to my financial future?" asked, my voice rising. My mother blinked, genuinely confused by my concern. "Family supports family," she said. "We've always taught you that. Sierra's wedding is coming up. Course you'll help with that too." She deserves the perfect day. The casual assumption knocked the wind from me. I grabbed the ledger, flipping to the final page where I had tracked every payment. The total stared back at me. $61,000. All this time, I'd been enabling their favoritism by financing it. Later that afternoon, I showed the ledger to Diane, my colleague and friend. We sat in a cafe, our coffees growing cold as she examined the pages. "This isn't normal family support, Amanda," she said. "This is exploitation." The word hit me like a physical blow. Exploitation. Not help. Not family duty. A deliberate taking advantage. As I drove home, I wrestled with an impossible choice. Cut off all financial support or gradually reduce it. The first option risked shattering my relationships beyond repair, but the second meant more months of financial strain. What do you do when the people who should love you unconditionally only value what you can give them? The next week, my phone buzzed with calls and messages. My mother had organized a family emergency meeting, and everyone was calling me to attend. My phone buzzed with the fifth call from my cousin that week. I silenced it and slid it face down on my desk. "Are you avoiding someone?" Diane asked from her cubicle. "My mother organized a family reunion without telling me," I said, rubbing my temples. "Now she wants me to fund it." Diane's eyes widened. The nerve. I opened my email and found 3 messages from aunts and uncles I hadn't spoken to in months, each with the same request. The family needed help, and I was the designated helper. Diane showed me a social media post where my mother had tagged everyone except me, celebrating Sierra's engagement. My stomach tightened. I had become the family ATM, and now they were making promises on my behalf. In the days that followed, sleep became a luxury I could no longer afford. Night after night, I lay awake, calculating the numbers. The weight of financial worry pressed against my chest, making it difficult to breathe. My boss noticed my exhaustion and asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was fine, but the dark circles under my eyes told the truth. I began keeping a journal, documenting every phone call, every request, every dollar transferred. The small leather-bound book became my constant companion, a record of the manipulation that had defined our family for years. One Tuesday evening, as I was leaving the office, Uncle Frank, my father's brother, caught me off guard by the elevator. "You've missed the last 3 family gatherings," he said. His weathered face creased with concern. "I always thought you were the backbone of this family. Now I'm wondering if they've been taking advantage of that strength." His words hit me with unexpected force, and I blinked back tears. For the first time, someone outside of Diane saw what was happening. I felt a surge of courage. The following Saturday, I found myself in my parents' kitchen. Sierra was flipping through bridal magazines, and my mother was circling venue options in red pen. "The country club deposit is due next week," my mother said without looking up. "You can cover the venue deposit." Not a question, a statement. Something in me snapped. "I'm not paying another cent," I said, my voice steady. The room fell silent. Sierra's head jerked up from her magazine, and my mother froze. "Don't be ridiculous," my mother finally said, but uncertainty flickered across her face. "I'm serious," I continued, finding strange power in the stillness of my voice. "I've paid the mortgage, Sierra's loans, credit cards, car payments. I'm done." My mother's mouth opened and closed as she searched for the manipulative words that had always worked before. But I saw her tactics clearly now. The guilt, the comparisons, the subtle insults wrapped in maternal concern. "You can't just," she began. "I can," I interrupted. "And I am." That evening, Uncle Frank called me. "I spoke with your mother," he said. "She's not happy." I simply replied, "I know." "Good," he responded firmly. "Sometimes family needs to learn hard lessons. I'm proud of you for setting boundaries." His words filled me with a sense of resolve. I opened my laptop and began searching for job opportunities outside of Austin. Seattle caught my eye. A tech hub with higher salaries, a fresh start 3,000 miles from Texas. The next day, I drove to the bank and requested printouts of every transaction for the past 2 years. Tucked among my father's financial documents, I discovered a statement for an account I'd never seen before, with a balance that completely contradicted every claim of hardship he'd ever made. He had been hiding money while I drained my savings to support them. My phone rang just as I processed this discovery. My mother's name flashed on the screen. "We're having an emergency family responsibility meeting tomorrow," she announced. "The mortgage payment didn't arrive." "I know," I said, feeling calmer than I had in years. "I told you I'm done paying." "This isn't a game, Amanda," she snapped. "Be here at 6. "I'll be there," I whispered to myself, looking at the evidence spread across my table. With receipts. On Tuesday evening, I arrived 15 minutes early for the meeting. In the dining room, my parents sat at opposite ends of the table. Sierra was there too, scrolling on her phone. I placed a 3-inch black binder in the center of the table. The soft thud drew everyone's attention. "I wanted to make sure we had enough time," I said, my voice controlled and businesslike. "Time to go through everything I've paid for over the past 2 years." I opened the binder to the first tab, Mortgage, and read the highlighted total. 24 payments at $1,200 each. That's $28,800. My mother's eyebrows shot up. I flipped to the next sections. Sierra's student loans, car payments, credit cards. Sierra's phone slipped from her hand. "That's more than I make in 3 months," she whispered. "The grand total," I said, turning to the summary page, "is $61,000. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. "You're exaggerating. Half those payments were gifts." I pulled out a manila folder with copies of every check and transfer receipt. "I have proof for every dollar." Sierra reached for the folder, her hands trembling as she saw the evidence. "I had no idea," she whispered. "Mom said you were happy to help." My laugh came out harder than intended. "Happy? I've been putting off dental work because I couldn't afford it. There was never any extra money." Just as the tension reached its peak, the doorbell rang. It was Uncle Frank. I had invited him to join us. My mother's face tightened as he sat down. "I suspected," he said, his normally jovial tone serious. "What you've been doing to Amanda isn't right." The silence that followed was heavy. My mother realized her carefully constructed narrative was crumbling. The financial house of cards they had built was beginning to collapse. 2 days later, my father tried to negotiate. He asked me to resume the mortgage payments in exchange for public acknowledgement of my contributions. I simply opened my laptop. "I've accepted a new position," I said, showing them the screen. "Software architect at Meridian Tech in Seattle. I start next month. The salary is $135,000. The color drained from my mother's face. "Seattle. That's across the country. And without supporting this household," I said, highlighting a row on my budget, "I'll save approximately $3,200 every month." "You can't just leave," my mother said. "I've been paying for the privilege of being disrespected," I said, my voice steady. "That arrangement is over." My phone buzzed with a text from Uncle Frank. "Everyone's here, ready when you are." I went to the restaurant where Sierra was hosting a dinner with our extended family. My parents trailed behind me, confusion on their faces. "What is this about?" my mother whispered. I made my way to Sierra and placed the gift box in front of her. "I wanted to show you something," I said loudly for everyone to hear. The room quieted. Sierra opened it to reveal the leather-bound portfolio containing all the financial records. "Here's my gift to you, the truth," I said. Sierra's expression shifted from confusion to shock as she saw the totals. She looked up, her eyes filling with tears. "How could you?" she asked our parents. Uncle Frank stood and explained that I had been carrying the family financially while being treated as the less successful one. The room watched in stunned silence as Sierra confronted our parents, demanding the answers I'd sought for years. In that moment, I felt a knot of resentment begin to unravel. Later that week, I heard through Uncle Frank that my parents were considering selling their house. Without my monthly contributions, they couldn't afford the mortgage. As I taped shut a moving box in my apartment, I found a photo album. I closed it and placed it in a box labeled Undecided. 6 months later, the morning light streamed through my Seattle apartment windows. I stared at the notification from my student loan app. The balance reduced by another $2,400. No mortgage payments for my parents. No credit card bailouts for Sierra. Just my own financial freedom. My laptop chimed with a video call from Diane. "Seattle suits you," she said. "You seem different." I laughed, a real laugh that started in my belly. I had been promoted, and I no longer had to downplay my success. At a company dinner, when a colleague asked about my family, I answered calmly, "My parents and I are taking some space. My sister and I are finding our way to a more honest relationship." There was no shame, no elaborate excuses, just the simple truth. That weekend, Diane and Uncle Frank came to visit. We clinked glasses, celebrating the family I had chosen. A few days later, an email appeared in my inbox from Sierra. "I took over Mom and Dad's mortgage payments last month," she wrote. "They weren't happy about it. I think I understand now what you've been trying to tell me." She admitted it was harder than she expected but also more satisfying. "I'd like to visit sometime if you're open to it, just me." My reply was short but genuine. "I'd love to show you Seattle in the spring." As I closed my laptop, I knew I had learned to choose myself. The beautiful part of this story is that I had learned to choose my own worth, a future built on truth and self-respect, not on the broken foundation of my family's expectations. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this one. See you next time.